Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Craig at Hiking Pipes. I'll apologize in advance if you hear some background banging and stuff going on. There's a neighbor a couple houses away. It looks like they're doing some work on the driveway. It looks like the crew is building kind of a form to pour concrete or expand their driveway. That's what it looks like from here, at least. Smoking the Friday Savinelli with some Peter Stokkebye's 403 Luxury Bullseye Flake. So last week, I did this little tongue-in-cheek tobacco rant. And boy, the way our pipe smokers' minds work sometimes, at least mine. So, in that vein, I was listening to the radio, and the song Wooden Ships on the Water came on, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Now, I know the song was written in the 60s, and really was the meaning behind the song was a very different time, but you hear wooden ships on the water, and this is how my mind goes. All of a sudden, I started to think about wooden ships, ships of old, and then I started to think about how many, especially Navy Flake tobaccos, regardless of the company that's putting out the Navy Flake, really harken back to the times of old and old sailors on these wooden ships and, way back when, and they kind of glorify that. So then my mind got to thinking on that. What's so great about that? Why do we glorify that? That must have been horrible as far as being a pipe smoker. You think about it. The conditions on those ships for the average deckhand, not the captain who's sitting in a nice cushy cabin or what have you, but you think about the deckhands who are, swabbing the deck on their hands and knees, scrubbing the deck. It must have been horrible, as far as to be a pipe smoker. And, you have the conditions below deck where they slept on those, at least what is envisioned to be these swinging hammocks with, packed in like sardine cans. Boy, the smell in there must have been unbelievable. Because, of course, they had great sanitation down there, too. Never mind, people getting seasick and all that kind of stuff down below. And, that's glorifying, isn't it? And you think about the weather conditions and the fact, it was probably hot and steamy if you're in the Caribbean or, like the Southern Atlantic, Southern Pacific. People sweating perpetually all the time. That sounds really, really, glorifying. And then you think about the food they must have been eating and the sanitary conditions the food must have been in. But we're invoking this wonderful aura of how it must have been in, smoking a pipe and the tobacco back then. Now, speaking of tobaccos, let's get into the tobacco aspect of things a little bit, won't we? So think about what must have been the quality of the tobacco being smoked, the actual quality back then. I mean, you're on this ship, you don't have mason jars, you don't have vacuum sealed tins. What was the quality of the tobacco initially like? I mean, when they first brought it on with them, maybe it was okay, but, after months at sea, which, some of these tours of, sailing around the world and so forth, they were on these ships for months. What happens to that tobacco after that amount of time? And again, they don't have mason jars or things like that where they're really sealing things up. I wonder how good that tobacco actually was. I suppose you can make an argument that it was aging, but how was it aging? I mean, exposed to the salt air continuously? What did that do to the tobacco? I can't imagine what it's smoking a bowl of really not hermetically sealed tobacco exposed to the salt air after 3, 4, 5 months must have been like. That doesn't sound yummy to me at all. And then you have the pipes they smoked out of. Regardless of the material of the pipe, how well were they being maintained? Could they be maintained? And the overall quality build of the pipe. Again, these are just the deckhands. These poor guys who are, getting paid pittance to be on these ships and work these ships. And then, of course, as I mentioned with tobacco, the weather of the weather exposure of the pipes to the salt air and surrounding living conditions, and the pipes themselves had to be horrible to smoke. You couple that with the tobacco, and what was that smoking experience truly like? And yet, harken back to the days of old and all this stuff, and not me. I don't think so. The overall life conditions of a typical deckhand on those old wooden ships, that was horrible. And again, I don't get pipe tobacco, manufacturers who try to, again, set this smoking experience aura as though it's going to be great, as comparing it to the days of old, and imagine being life on the ship of old and smoking your pipe. Really think about it. That couldn't have been good at all. Anyway, as I said, that's the kind of way my mind works sometimes. You hear something and it just triggers some thoughts, and you go off into la la land with it. And yeah, when I heard the song Wooden Ships on the Water, started thinking about it, and that's what I came up with. So anyway, for this nice Friday morning, I hope everybody is well, be safe, and most importantly, be good to one another. Catch you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.